you have an edge if you've done a PhD in astronomy because you have kind of that research understanding. You have a different understanding of data than someone who just knows, they know a lot about machine learning algorithms, but they don't know a lot about how to properly interpret the results. And ultimately learning about algorithms is easy, but learning about data interpretation and interpreting your results is a challenge. And it's something that astronomy PhD students have mastered by the end of it. In astronomy, you're very much kind of on your own in many cases, which is not, I guess I didn't ever see it as a positive thing, but looking back on it, I think it was really a good thing. It helped me to develop that kind of self-guided and self-motivated work style that I think is lacking with other areas.
I think in general, astronomy students or physics students have a really good understanding of data, understanding of physical processes, statistics, so they can really be trained up very quickly to do the type of work that I'm doing now. And also for me, a PhD is not just training to do analysis, but it's about leading a project. So design a project, manage the delivery of the project, and complete a project. That's actually really important. And part of the writing a paper is to be able to communicate that and defend the analysis you have done. So all of that makes you really qualified to do a lot of jobs. And because it's really hard, so it also makes you really, really resilient.
Anyone with a PhD, as we know, has shown that they can do anything, basically. I'm not going to claim that I can do anything, but you certainly can apply yourself to any problem that comes up. A problem that has no known solution. You can look at it, go back to basics, decide what you need to learn to solve that problem, and then go at it. So you know how to break down a problem, work out how to solve it or how you might go about solving it, and then start approaching it. You might have to backtrack, you might have gone down, learnt the wrong thing, so you know you have to go back. But you do that within your PhD structure, and that is useful for anything in life, of course, but particularly for job hunting. That's a really useful skill to have.
So the skills that I took from, I guess mostly my PhD in astrophysics into my new career were probably mostly those analytical skills and problem solving skills. And I think sometimes having a bit of that, you have a really big problem, you have a limited amount of time to get a result, and often you don't have complete data and knowledge as well. And I think that's something that's really helped me in my career, because a lot of the time people are trying to get 100% of the information before proceeding to the next step. But sometimes just getting that sort of 80% there and then finding out, well, what can we do with this bit of information, and really getting a measurable result from that has been something that's quite unique that I can bring from my experience in astrophysics.
So one of the advantages you might have with an astronomy PhD when you're looking for jobs outside of academia is the fact that you've proven that you've learned, you know how to learn. You can learn rapidly, and that's a simple requirement of learning, getting a PhD, but also doing postdoctoral research positions. You have to rapidly learn lots of new things. The other thing as well as part of that is the astronomy adjacent stuff you have to do. So as an astronomer, you typically learn how to program in Python. You might have to communicate to the public audience. And all of those skill sets are actually very valued. And they're not necessarily specifically astronomy, but they are part and parcel of what you have to do to essentially have an academic career and get a PhD. The other sort of major one is the fact that you've proven that you can handle tasks that have no defined end goal. You have a goal in mind, there's not a defined solution. You have an open-ended problem, and you then actually can go about solving it. And that's actually quite useful for a lot of places where they're like, we don't have a known solution. We know what we want to try to do, but we don't know how to get there, and we don't necessarily have a definite solution. You're like, you have an open-ended problem, I can handle it.
You develop a lot of skills while doing a PhD. I think a key one is communication skills. In astronomy in particular, you tend to be working with both small local groups of researchers and large international collaborations. Another thing is you gain a lot of experience communicating highly technical concepts to non-technical groups of people, such as friends, family, and the press. It's also very common in astronomy to be working with large data sets, and that gives you a lot of experience in coding, statistics, and even machine learning. And those are the bread and butter skills of data science. Two skills that are very particular to science research are resilience and skepticism. Doing science research, you run into a lot of dead ends. My PhD was made up of a number of research projects, but one in particular I was working on and off for the entire length of the PhD, and it took a lot of resilience to not give up on that. The second skill, skepticism, is based on the way that you're trained to think. Question every assumption, nothing is sacred. That way of thinking helps you identify the sources of subtle bugs and also to find efficient solutions to complicated problems.
PhDs really bring that ability to look outside the box and to analyse the data that they are given and try and extrapolate it and interpolate it to bring something more than what someone, for example, fresh from an undergraduate might be able to do.
I think in my particular case, in building my communication platform and persona, finishing my PhD and having that doctor title will give that extra edge, especially being a woman in this field as well, where often people think that you don't know as much or you're not as smart just because you are a woman. It is the case sometimes, but having that title of doctor, I think is going to give me that extra edge to fight that.
It's a very hardcore science, and it allows you to do very deep work and deep thinking, which gives you the way to learn anything that is new in the wild of our industry world. Yeah.